So solid state removes the flammable portion of it. And also because density equals a higher energy storage. So solid state is a high density, so it has a higher energy density to a liquid form. So these batteries, solid state batteries, are the next step in the evolution for batteries.
Welcome back to Proactive Investors, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Kerry Stevenson. I've asked Tim Wither to come back. Only a couple of weeks ago, I was speaking to Tim about their Mavis Lake lithium project. And today, by the way, their ASX code is CRR, and Tim is the managing director. Today, we're going to talk about how they were accepted as an industry member of the US Center for Solid State Electrical Power Storage. It's affectionately known as CEPS, C-E-P-S. So I wanted to find out from Tim, what's that all about, why this is important, these sort of solid state battery tech. So Tim, welcome back. Good to see you. And I think you've also done a placement since I last spoke to you, but we'll get to that if we have the time. But let's focus on CEPS. Why is this important to critical resources?
Yeah. Morning, Kerry, and great to speak to you again. So CEPS was a really important step for us. So late last year, we secured an option over some solid state battery technology from the South Dakota School of Mines in the US. And CEPS is giving us the how. So CEPS is an American National Science Foundation. It's a collective of a group of universities and also allows industry participation within that centre. So we get now access, and we have the cost advantage of being able to lower the administration cost of it. So we've now been able to access research teams and world-class facilities within the US, and it's across a broad group of universities. And these are really the leading universities within America for solid state battery technology and research. So we've gained low cost advantage into this NSF, the National Science Foundation backed ecosystem. And so this gives us now that how we're going to be entering into this evaluation phase for our solid state battery technology.
How difficult is it to become an industry member? In other words, I want to know why did they accept you in?
Well, it has to be accepted by all the universities that are part of the NSF. And one of the advantages is that South Dakota is one of those members. And we have an IP linked or an option to potentially globally license this cutting edge, new age solid state battery technology with the South Dakota School of Mines. So we do have an inside running on that one.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the solid state tech, the solid state battery tech, what it is and why you think that this is going to be an important part of our future?
Strategically, we're linking our Mavis Lake lithium project in Ontario, Canada, with the end use of the solid state batteries. CEPS also gives us access. I didn't mention about this, and I'll get to the point. There's quite a significant number of industry partners already inside CEPS. That includes Mercedes, Honda, and Nissan. So we are now getting access to the end users as well. So it's linking Mavis Lake with it. Why solid state battery technology? So you can't not now take certain power banks onto planes, and this is real world consequences today, because the current lithium ion batteries utilize liquid electrolytes, liquid lithium electrolytes. So that once that liquid electrolyte is exposed to air, that is what causes the fire. It's flammable. So solid state removes the flammable portion of it. And also because density equals a higher energy storage. So solid state is a high density, so it has a higher energy density to a liquid form. So these batteries, solid state batteries, are the next step in the evolution for batteries. And a lot of industry, and you can mention any of the EV groups, are very active in the solid state battery technology. What we have IP'd has a very unique pathway, and that is the higher temperature electrolyte. So this higher temperature electrolyte optimized for high temperature environments. And we're thinking data centers, we're thinking defense, mining. And so there's a very unique specific pathway that we're doing. One of the research programs that we're finalising and about to kick off within CEPS has a room temperature electrolyte, and this is just next generation. So there's multiple generations and chemistry variants within the electrolyte and the cathode side of things. So very, very exciting to be involved with this side of the technology. So we've sort of jumped a few steps when we're getting the other end of the value chain for shareholders.
I was just about to say, why should shareholders, just to wrap it up, why should shareholders be sitting up and taking notice of this industry membership in CEPS?
Well, there's very limited. There is a couple of ASX listed companies doing solid state battery technology, or the sort of more advanced battery technology, but this is a pure solid state electrolyte. It's quite a low cost entry into this technology. It gets more expensive towards the end. CEPS is very low cost. We're going from a 47% overhead to a 10% overhead. So i.e. more money in the ground, more money into the research programs. And yeah, we are currently working with some leading researchers in the US for this technology. So it's quite an exciting pathway. And really we're pointing towards developing a prototype and then externally third-party prototype, validating this prototype or prototypes. So yeah, quite an interesting pathway going forward for shareholders.
We wanted to make sure that shareholders understood this, and the market absolutely needs to understand that this industry membership that you've gone, but I think the way forward is solid state, because we're all seeing that we can't take lithium power banks onto planes anymore, and the old technology it's not going to be very favorable going forward. It's all going to be about solid state, I think. So congratulations on that. We'll look forward to the next bit of news in the near future. Thanks so much for joining me today, Tim.
Thank you very much, Kerry.